Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese, is a cinematic exploration of a dark chapter in American history, the Osage Nation murders of the 1920s. The film delves into themes of greed, betrayal, and systemic injustice. The film begins with a quiet and emotional moment where Osage elders gather to bury a ceremonial pipe. This act is deeply symbolic, representing the loss of their traditions and way of life as they are forced to adapt to white American society. The pipe, which holds great meaning in their culture, is buried to show how much has already been taken from them and how their world is changing. This moment is followed by the discovery of oil on their land. The oil brings the Osage great wealth, but it also marks the beginning of trouble. The camera shows wide, sweeping views of the Oklahoma landscape, emphasizing the beauty and vastness of the Osage Nation's home. These shots make it clear how important the land is to the tribe and how this discovery will change everything. When the oil gushes from the ground, it's both a blessing and a warning of the greed and danger that will come with it. Director Martin Scorsese uses natural light to make these scenes feel real and connected to the time and place. The soft, golden light gives the land a peaceful and calm feeling, showing how things were before the oil disrupted their lives. The scene also uses sound to set the mood. At first, we hear the peaceful sounds of nature, wind, birds, and quiet. But as the oil is discovered, these sounds are replaced by the loud roar of machinery, symbolizing how industry is taking over and pushing nature aside. This shift in sound highlights how the Osage's connection to their land is being threatened. In this opening, Scorsese clearly sets up the main conflict of the film: the clash between the Osage people's traditions and the greed of those who want to exploit their newfound wealth. It's a powerful introduction that shows how something as valuable as oil can bring both prosperity and destruction. The story shifts to Ernest Burkhart, a young man returning home from World War I. He's tired and eager to start fresh, but there's an innocence about him that makes it clear he's not fully prepared for what lies ahead. Ernest moves in with his uncle, William King Hale, who is well known in Osage County as a cattle rancher and a supposed friend to the Osage people. From the moment they meet, Hale comes across as charming and confident, presenting himself as someone who knows how to get things done. He quickly takes Ernest under his wing, treating him like family while also guiding him toward his own plans. Hale is introduced as a figure of power, someone who seems generous and kind on the surface, but carries a sense of control and calculation beneath the surface. The way the camera frames their early conversations tells us a lot about their relationship. Medium shots are used to show both men in the same frame, which highlights how Hale is trying to draw Ernest into his world. Hale is often placed in a position of dominance in the shot, subtly showing that he has more control in the relationship. These moments make it clear that Hale is not just a supportive uncle, but someone who knows how to manipulate others. The lighting in Hale's home also gives clues about his character. The rooms are dimly lit, with light coming in through small windows, creating a mix of brightness and shadow. This makes the space feel both inviting and secretive, hinting at the darker plans Hale is hiding beneath his friendly exterior. Hale starts to show his manipulative side early on. He compliments Ernest, builds up his confidence, and talks about all the opportunities they can take advantage of together. But his words have an underlying tone of control, as if he's testing Ernest's willingness to follow him. Martin Scorsese uses slow pacing in these moments, letting the tension build as we start to see how much influence Hale has over Ernest. This part of the story introduces two key themes: greed and manipulation. Hale represents the greed of those who want to exploit the Osage wealth, while Ernest's actions will reflect his internal struggle between loyalty to his family and doing what's right. This sequence sets up their relationship and lays the foundation for the moral conflicts that will shape the rest of the film. The story shifts to Ernest falling in love with Mollie Kyle, an Osage woman whose family is wealthy because of their oil rights. Their romance brings a softer, more emotional side to the film, offering a break from the tension building in the background. Director Martin Scorsese uses this relationship to show themes like love, trust, and betrayal, making it the emotional heart of the story. Their love story is shown in a very personal way. The camera often focuses closely on their faces, showing how they look at each other and the emotions they share. These close-up shots help us feel the connection between them. Mollie's calm, strong personality stands out in these moments, while Ernest's awkward but sweet efforts to win her over show his genuine feelings for her. Lighting plays a big role in how these scenes feel. When Ernest and Mollie are together, the light is soft and warm, making their time together seem safe and peaceful. This is very different from the darker, shadowy lighting used in scenes where Ernest is with his uncle. This contrast hints that their love is something good in an otherwise dark and greedy world. Scorsese also mixes their love story with the larger problems happening around them. For example, we see Ernest and Mollie walking and laughing together in a beautiful open field, but soon after, we might see scenes of the Osage elders worrying about their people losing control of their land and money. This shows how their relationship exists in the middle of a much bigger and more dangerous situation. Mollie is shown as a strong and smart woman. She doesn't trust easily, especially when it comes to the white settlers who surround her, but she slowly lets her guard down with Ernest, drawn to his clumsy charm and the way he clearly admires her. Meanwhile, Ernest's love for Mollie feels real, even though we know his Uncle Hale's influence is pulling him toward dangerous choices. Their relationship is full of both love and tension. While it's clear they care deeply for each other, we can sense that something isn't right. The trust Mollie places in Ernest, despite the greed and betrayal happening around her, makes their story even more powerful. This part of the film not only makes us care about Ernest and Mollie, but also shows how greed and corruption can destroy even the strongest love. Their romance is a reminder of what's at stake in the larger story, making the tragedy that follows even more heartbreaking. The unexpected death of Mollie's sister, Minnie, marks the start of a series of tragic events. This moment brings a heavy shift in tone, signaling the growing danger and hardship the Osage people are about to face. Scorsese sets the mood for this tragedy with a more muted color palette. The screen is filled with dull grays and browns, which match the somber mood of the moment. This change in colors makes the film feel darker and reflects the sadness and danger taking over the Osage community. It's a visual way to show how everything is shifting from warmth and hope to something much darker and more uncertain. The camera work in this scene is calm and slow, emphasizing the stillness of grief. We see wide shots of the family home and the land around it, which gives a sense of isolation. This helps remind us that the Osage people are alone in their struggle, vulnerable to outside forces that want to take their wealth. One of the most powerful moments comes when the camera focuses on the family's faces as they mourn. We get close-up shots of Mollie and her relatives, showing their pain and confusion. The sound in this scene is quiet, with moments of silence or soft, sad music filling the background. This approach draws us deeper into the family's mourning, as we hear beyond their emotions and the environment around them. It makes the loss feel immediate and real. Minnie's death isn't just a family tragedy. It symbolizes the bigger issue the Osage people are facing. Though her death is explained as a sickness, there are hints that it might be part of the larger scheme to take their wealth. We see people in the background who seem suspicious, hinting that something dangerous is at work. This gives us a deeper understanding of how the Osage are being manipulated and harmed by those around them. Minnie's death is the starting point for everything that will come after. It's a turning point that shifts the film's focus from moments of joy to the painful reality of exploitation and violence. Through the visual style, sound, and character reactions, Scorsese ensures that we feel the weight of this moment. As William King Hale starts planning the murders of wealthy Osage people to steal their valuable oil rights, the film dives into the betrayal and corruption behind these tragic events. Scorsese increases the tension and sense of betrayal by changing the editing style to feel more broken up and disorienting. The scenes are cut faster, jumping between different characters and moments, making us feel the chaos and danger growing. This change in editing shows the confusion and fear the Osage people are facing, as their wealth and lives are being taken from them in a calculated and hidden way. The use of shadows and low lighting makes the actions of Hale and his associates seem even more dark and sinister. The frame is often filled with shadows, hiding parts of the scene, creating a sense of mystery and danger. Hale's character is often shown in the dark, which highlights his double life. He presents himself as a friend to the Osage, but is actually working against them. This visual choice suggests that much of the harm is done quietly, out of sight, and in the dark, both literally and metaphorically. Hale, with his authority and power, is able to disguise his true intentions and manipulate the Osage under a mask of kindness. One important scene showing Hale's manipulations is when Ernest, at Hale's request, carries out the murder of Henry Roan, Mollie's first husband. This moment marks Ernest's deeper involvement in the crimes and shows his growing inner conflict. The scene is shot to show Ernest's struggle, and the fragmented editing mirrors his confusion as he's caught between his loyalty to Hale and his feelings for Mollie. At the same time, the shadows and low lighting make us feel the danger closing in, with the camera focusing on small details, like a weapon or a strange look. The killings that Hale arranges are presented as a quiet, hidden kind of evil. The use of shadows, dim lighting, and quick editing help create a sense of secrecy and danger. Scorsese uses these details to make the message clear. These murders aren't just about stealing money. They represent a long history of greed and exploitation, where the Osage are seen as less than human and their lives don't matter. As Hale convinces Ernest to begin poisoning Mollie's insulin, we see a heartbreaking portrayal of her health slowly worsening. The film uses close-up shots to show us Mollie's pain, both physical and emotional. These close-ups focus on her tired face, pale skin, and slow movements, helping us feel her suffering in a very real way. The camera stays close, capturing every small change, which makes her struggle more personal and raw. The film also uses a clever trick with color to show her decline. As Mollie gets sicker, the colors on screen start to fade, just like her health. Where there were once warm, bright colors, everything becomes more muted and dull. This change in the colors helps us understand how her strength and energy are slowly slipping away, and it makes her condition feel even more tragic. The use of less vibrant colors really brings out the sadness of the situation and gives us a visual cue that something precious is being lost. The shift in color also matches the emotional weight of the scenes. As Mollie's health worsens, the emotional tone grows darker. She starts to feel more isolated and frightened as she doesn't understand why this is happening to her. We can feel the emotional pain as she starts to realize the people closest to her, including her husband, may be the ones causing her harm. The close-ups show us the depth of her betrayal, making the scene more powerful. As she continues to get sick, Mollie's relationship with Ernest also becomes strained. At first, they had a loving bond, but as Mollie gets weaker, Ernest's guilt and conflict become clearer. The camera focuses on his uncertain expressions and shows how he is torn between loyalty to his Uncle Hale and his love for Mollie. This shift is visible in his eyes, and we can see the emotional distance between them growing. The emotional and physical separation between them only adds to the sadness of Mollie's situation. Mollie's failing health is not just about her body getting weaker. It's also a symbol of the larger tragedy happening to the Osage people. The camera's use of close-ups, fading colors, and intimate moments makes us feel what Mollie is going through, both physically and emotionally. Scorsese uses these techniques to make her suffering feel more personal, while also reminding us of the broader injustices the Osage people are facing. It's a powerful way to show how both her personal tragedy and the systemic cruelty of her situation are linked. When Agent Thomas Bruce White Sr. and his team arrive, the tone of the film changes. Up to this point, the story has been filled with betrayal, deception, and sadness, but now there's a sense that things might start to improve. The cinematography shifts to match this change. The camera starts to move more actively, following the agents as they investigate the murders. These tracking shots, where the camera moves along with the characters, give us the feeling that something important is happening and that justice might finally be on the way. This movement contrasts with the slower, heavier shots earlier in the film, where things felt stuck and hopeless. The change in the camera's pace signals that progress is being made and that the agents are uncovering the truth. The lighting also gets brighter and clearer, which stands out against the darker, more shadowy scenes we saw before. These changes in the film style reflect the growing determination of Agent White and his team. They are now actively working to uncover the truth, and the film mirrors this with a more energetic pace and clearer shots. This gives us hope that the criminals will be held accountable and that justice will be served. Ernest's confession is a key moment in the film, where his guilt and inner conflict finally come to light. The scene is filmed with the camera tightly focused on Ernest, showing his face and making it feel like he has nowhere to escape. This close-up helps us feel his emotional struggle. It shows that he's trapped by his own actions and cannot run from the truth anymore. The lighting in this scene is sharp and intense. The strong light makes everything clear, revealing the raw emotions of the characters. There is no room for hiding, which matches the seriousness of Ernest's confession. This also makes the scene feel uncomfortable, emphasizing the weight of the truth that is being exposed. As Ernest confesses, you can see the regret in his eyes, and his voice shows how heavy his guilt is. The tight camera focus captures every shift in his expression, letting us feel his emotional pain. He knows that by confessing, he's condemning himself, but he also knows it's the only way to end the madness. He feels torn between his love for Mollie and his past loyalty to his uncle. When Hale is arrested, the same sharp lighting is used to show his downfall. The camera closely focuses on his face, capturing his shock and realization that his power is slipping away. His earlier control over everything fades as the truth catches up with him. The shift from Ernest's confession to Hale's arrest highlights the change in power, as Hale can no longer hide from the truth. The film ends with a recreation of a 1930s radio drama that oversimplifies the Osage murders. This part of the film shows how indigenous suffering is often ignored or distorted in mainstream stories. Scorsese uses this moment to criticize how history is sometimes rewritten and how the media plays a role in shaping what the public believes. In the 1930s, radio was one of the main ways people got information and entertainment. By choosing this format, Scorsese reminds us that many important events, like the Osage murders, were often presented in ways that made them easier for the public to accept. The radio show simplifies the murders, making it seem less brutal and less complicated than it actually was. By including this radio drama, Scorsese also points out how indigenous voices have been silenced. The Osage people are not given the chance to tell their own story. Instead, outsiders rewrite it. This dramatized version of events highlights the gap between the real history and the version that becomes accepted by the public. The closing overhead shot of a contemporary Osage powwow symbolizes resilience and continuity. The vibrant colors and rhythmic movements celebrate the enduring spirit of the Osage people, offering a sense of closure and hope. Killers of the Flower Moon effectively combines storytelling and visuals to reveal a painful chapter of history. Scorsese carefully uses film techniques like lighting, colors, and shot composition to strengthen the emotional impact and themes of the film. This approach ensures the story of the Osage Nation is told with the seriousness and respect it deserves. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.